happens if Welcome to our webinar on divorcing a narcissist. My name is Attorney Robin Fleischer, and I am a divorce, family law, and criminal defense attorney. I practice in Beverly, and we are going to have a conversation today on what do you do if you find yourself in the situation where you have to divorce a narcissist or a difficult person. And I'm joined today with my friend and colleague, Lisa Happ. She's a divorce coach. She also specializes in working with people dealing with narcissists. She's going to start the conversation off. She's going to talk about the emotional aspects, identifying characteristics. Then she's going to send it back over to me. I'm going to try to give you some tips and tricks on what you do when you find yourself divorcing a narcissist. And then we'll open it up last 15 minutes for questions. So, Lisa, take it away.
Thank you. Hi, guys. I'm Lisa Happ. I'm a certified divorce coach, narcissistic abuse recovery coach, grief coach, somatic coach, and I specialize in coercive controlled cases internationally. I spend my time locally in New England as well as traveling all around the world, going to court, helping people prepare, strategize, and go through the court process when they're dealing with an incredibly difficult ex-partner, soon to be ex-partner, or narcissistic spouse. So the first thing people ask me every single time I talk to them is are they a narcissist? Do you think I'm the narcissist? Well, first of all, if you are on this and if you're reaching out to me for support, even wondering if you're the narcissist, the good news is you're not, because they never wonder if they're the narcissist because they think they're fabulous. So you are not the narcissist if you're here today and you've ever questioned that. When I went through this, I asked myself the same exact question. You are not the narcissist. Are they a narcissist? I have no idea. So not every jerk is a narcissist, but every narcissist is absolutely a jerk. I don't know, when we could spend this whole call, you guys could like put stuff in the chat and I could help you try to figure out if they are or they're not a narcissist. But at the end of the day, I mean, maybe, but they're never going to get help. Very few narcissists ever get diagnosed because they don't think there's anything wrong with them. It's never their fault. It's always your fault. So you could spend the rest of your life diagnosing this person. And if we're working together and you wanted me to, I could profile them for you because there's actually a whole handful of different types of narcissists. And sometimes by profiling the type of narcissist with a professional, you can build strategy around your divorce. But for today, we are here for you, not for them, because you spent enough time worrying about them. So for me, I like to tell my clients, like, it's all about how they make you feel. I mean, a jerk is a jerk, right? Like, when there's plenty of jerks in the world and there's plenty of narcissists in the world. The term narcissist has become a buzzword, and I think it gets a lot of flack for that. But I think also there are a lot of people that fit this personality type, and the awareness of it is growing and growing. So a lot of times, certain attorneys or professionals or friends are going to be like, yeah, everyone says they're a narcissist. Well, yeah, because there's a lot of narcissistic people in the world, and the awareness around it is incredible, which I'm very thankful for because it's allowing people to be seen, heard, and believed where they never were before. And it's allowing us to give you resources like we are today to help you learn how to move forward, how to get help, and what your steps are. So a big part of this is how you feel. Are you feeling like you're walking on eggshells? You're scared. You pull into your driveway and you don't want to go in the house. So you sit there on the phone. Are you constantly in this like loop where your head is ruminating and pinging, and all you can do is think about what they did, when they did it, how they did it, why they did it? Was it your fault? And then you backwards loop. No, it's probably me. No, it's probably my fault. Maybe I did this. And it's this constant, I just call it pinging, this loops and circles in your head. And what it does, well, it's really annoying, first of all, so it annoys you, but it consumes your life. It consumes your mind, it consumes your thoughts, and it really affects every single part of your day-to-day world. And that's a good indicator that you could be in a relationship with somebody who has narcissistic tendencies. That pinging and that is it me, is it them, is cognitive dissonance. It's like the two sides of your brain are fighting with each other. one side knows this guy is a real jerk and everything he does is controlling and mean and terrible. Then the other side of your brain is saying, yeah, but there was this one time 20 years ago, he was super nice to me. Or maybe this one time he kind of sort of showed up for me. So that cognitive dissonance is created by this toxic person in your life over years and over time with conditioning through trauma bonding, which I'm going to talk about in a minute.
Mhm.
The goal of the narcissist is to control, 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 have power and control over you because that power and control gives this individual narcissistic supply. In my experience, most narcissists need at least 3 forms of supply. And the supply is something that fills them up, makes them feel in control, makes them feel better than powerful, and gets them admiration or conflict. They also like conflict. They're much like a 3-year-old. Any
Mhm.
attention they can get is attention that fills them up. So if they're not getting good attention from you, they're gonna have a tantrum on the floor target to get the bad attention, much like a 3-year-old does. So
Right, right.
typically it's 3. I don't know what you find, but Robin, but I find it's usually their relationship with the person that I'm working with who's got like there's some power dynamics, there's a control dynamics, there's starting to be a little conflict. Then sometimes it'll come from like a career. A lot of times it's a mom. Like narcissistic men, particularly, have really enmeshed strange relationships with their mom. And
Yeah.
often, I mean, I hate to be the one to say it, but everybody on this call is already wondering. A lot of times they're cheating with at least one person.
Mhm.
And if you're wondering if they're cheating yes. If you're considering if you're wondering it, yeah, they probably are. But bad news, super hurtful. Good news is they are soon to be somebody else's problem. And what you find with the cheating, which is really common, is that there's 3 women. There's one in the center, which is typically you if you're on the call and you're married to them. And then they have one on the way in and one on the way out. So if you're married to them, you might be the center for now. But as you move through the divorce, you're going to move into the one on the way out. They're going to move one in that they're grooming and they're going to bring some new woman or person in here. So they have 3 that they cycle, and they have one that's the center, which is their main relationship, their spouse. Then they have one that maybe they were grooming and then they moved on the way out because they kind of like to have a little bit of a roster for people to reach out to when they need some narcissistic supply. And it's not always 3 women. It can be obviously in any type of relationship. If somebody is dating women, they could have 3 women. They could have 3 men. It could be a mix. So anywhere across the board where there tends to be 3 people in the mix, and a job. So that's one thing to look for if you're wondering if you're in one of these relationships. They tend to use shame to control you. They tend to use
Yeah.
manipulation and guilt,
Yeah.
gaslighting, which I know is a phrase that's overdone. But anytime you bring something to their attention, if they flip the script and blame
Yeah.
you, good shot. They have some narcissistic tendencies also.
Mhm.
So we have the cognitive dissonance. We have the stream of narcissistic supply. We have the rumination and the pinging I was talking about. And then let's look at how you feel in your body. If you're around this person, you're constantly on edge. You're hyper vigilant. You react quickly to noises. If you find yourself like jumping a lot, that's a good indicator that you are in a coercive control relationship. When you're in a relationship like this, over time, the amygdala, the front part of your brain, literally grows. It actually grows larger. And that's a part of your brain that's scanning constantly for danger. So you are going to jump at a loud noise. A lot of people on it, you feel really itchy. And
Really?
yeah,
Oh.
or a lot of women I've noticed, especially women do this. They go like this a lot. It's like a self-soothing behavior with their hair. These are all signs that your nervous system is saying to you, run. I am trying to protect you from this person. Um, Hearing loss is really big. People used to laugh at me all the time and be like, "What are you losing your hearing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I'm getting old," which also true. But the inner ear is very affected by coercive control in the way that it affects the vagus nerve. So if you notice your hearing isn't the best, there's 2 reasons for that. It's the vagus nerve and the hypervigilance. So much of the capacity of your brain is going to your amygdala to scan for danger. It's not focusing in on all the sounds necessarily around you. It's going to pick up on one thing that it thinks possibly could be dangerous and hone in on that. So that is a big physical effect I noticed with people. But the biggest one is the trauma bond.
Yeah.
And Rob and I have talked about this a lot in length. And there is a cycle of narcissistic abuse we can pop up here after that shows you exactly the cycle of abuse, from the love bombing phase to the devaluing to the
Right.
discard to the hoover. And what they've done is created a cycle of abuse that creates intermittent reinforcement, where sometimes they're amazing and they're nice, and sometimes they're
Right.
real mean,
Yeah.
and then sometimes they kind of like lure you back in and they're sort of nice. And what they're doing is training your brain with intermittent reinforcement, which is the worst, best, however you want to look at it, way to get somebody addicted to
Mhm.
something. What they're doing is creating an addiction cycle. So you're actually addicted to this person. Your brain is addicted. It's a chemical reaction. So your brain is seeking those dopamine hits that feel amazing and intense when they do come back in and when they are nice. When you meet them, it always starts with some form of love bombing. You will never get to that extreme of love bombing again anytime in this relationship, but your brain is constantly seeking it. And then the times when they're not so nice and it's really stressful, we're pumping so much cortisol through our body that our body also gets addicted to that. So that like perfect formula, I'll call it, creates this addiction to this person. I remember when I was in a relationship like this, I thought to myself, why do I feel so addicted to this person?
Mhm.
And if you see a scan of a brain of somebody that has a drug addiction to heroin, and you see the scan of a brain of somebody who is in a relationship like this, the brain of the person in a coercive control relationship is more affected. And so it's not you, it's not your fault. People typically go back about 7 times in these relationships before they finally leave. Family and friends get annoyed. People wonder what's wrong with you. Why are you leaving? Why can't you just leave? It's an addiction. There, among many other reasons, but you have a physical addiction to this person. So we can pop the cycle of abuse up after, and that clearly shows, and I can send it to you guys if you reach out to me too, why your brain is addicted. So what do? You're in this relationship. Maybe you've identified, okay, they are a narcissist. You guys can always reach out to me and I will send you all the different types of narcissists if you're curious. Well, you get divorced. Like when you're ready, when your nervous system is ready, we get you out. And sometimes that means starting with coaching or therapy and somebody helping you regulate your nervous system.
Right.
Sometimes it means like creating a little pathway forward before you feel ready and your nervous system is ready. And some people are like, oh, no, 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 I'm ready to go. And so then we start there. Often attorneys I find tell you to document everything, every event, every single thing, keep track of everything. No, don't, yes and no. So I say to people, yes, keep a journal of some of the events that happened and the waves that you feel. If there's a huge event, like the police are involved, or there's big events, document those, but more so document the day to day.
Mhm.
They were mean to your dog. They were mean to your child. They were super controlling. Like canceled your hair appointment or your Botox appointment because they didn't want you to go. They're controlling your schedule. Because when you get into this cognitive dissonance cycle and when the trauma bond hits and you start to feel maybe it was me, maybe I should go back and read that. So the documentation is for you. I don't
Mhm.
know what you think, Robin, but often I find attorneys tell women to document all these things. And I always say women because I primarily work with women, but obviously these relationships can be in same-sex relationships. Women can be narcissists, but just to keep it easy, I'm saying women. A lot of attorneys will say document all of these things. So women come to me and they have pages and pages and pages of stuff documented. And I'm just going to be honest, the court doesn't care. But our
Right.
attorneys have given women all these false hopes that, like, here, I'm going to hand this to the judge, and the judge is going to say, you're a real jerk, and send them away.
I want to, and I want to say that, and I know in a few minutes I'll address certain things. Lisa is 100% right. Yes, we want documentation. We need documentation. But every little minute detail, I woke up this morning and I had a piece of toast, and then he yelled at me because the toast was burned. No, because the judge doesn't care about that. However, I woke up this morning and I burned his toast, and then he took the plate and he threw it at me. Yes,
Yes.
that's what I want. We want you to document. he got up this morning and he told me that I was a rotten SOB, and then he went and he kicked the dog. And then
Mhm.
he took the spoon out of the baby's mouth and he threw the spoon across the floor and says, I'm not taking the care of the baby. Yes. So when you talk to your lawyer and you tell your story, your lawyer will tell you, this I need you to document. So Lisa, you're 100% right. I agree with you 100%. We don't need a brain dump,
Right?
But your lawyer will tell you what you need, and I can talk a little bit more about that when you flip it over and it's my turn to talk about things.
That's like the perfect way to say it because there are points
Right.
they need to know, but
Yeah.
sometimes less is more because you want to keep the big stuff and not cloud it with
Right.
the things that seem smaller, even if
Right.
they're not small to you. And just knowing and having like a clear expectation of the court and what they can and can't do is
Right.
helpful because if you come with all of these files or documents and every bit documented, you're going in with a lot of false hope that the court is going to protect you. And unfortunately, the court is not set up to protect people in that specific way. Like if they don't bring back the lunchbox when they visit the dad, the court does couldn't care less. It's annoying, but they don't care. So if you go in with more of a clear expectation, you're not as disappointed going through the process
Right.
because when you've been abused for sometimes many, many years, it's really disheartening, it's really sad. You just feel like it's another time you were dismissed and discarded, and it really hits your nervous system hard. So keeping just like a clear expectation of what the process is and how it can and can't help you is so important. I always say, yeah, anything you can grab if there's financial abuse in your relationship, anything that comes in the mail, anything you see with an number on it,
Right.
just take a screenshot of it. But there's going to be discovery. There's going to be financial affidavits. Your attorney can do an asset search. And so many people create so much stress for themselves and anxiousness around this. And a lot of people, a lot of
Right.
reels will tell you all about documentation. I mean, it matters, but your attorney can help you get that information. So, my biggest thing when I first start to meet with clients, I try to tell them is you're pissed. Like once you've started to like realize who this person is, how they're treating you, you're starting to like come out of the brain fog a little bit. You're super mad. I was too. And I did this too. So I'm like, but I'm telling you, it is not a good idea. Try not to convince the person that you're a jerk, they're a narcissist. Don't tell them you're working with a coach or a therapist that thinks they're a horrible person and a narcissist. Don't
Mhm.
try to negotiate with them on anything to do with a divorce. I actually tell you when you're getting ready to leave to almost do the opposite. Smile, nod, you put up with this jerk long enough as long as you're safe. Play
Right.
nice for a few weeks and let your attorney prepare everything because once you tell them they're a narcissist, they're gonna say you're a narcissist, and then it's gonna get very combative and very
Right.
confrontational. But a lot of times we, as much as we now dislike this person, they've been your spouse and your partner, maybe your person for many years. So there's a part of you that really wants their help and support through this. But you, there's also a part of you that really wants justice and for them to apologize and say, I'm sorry, I'm a jerk. They're never going to do that, and they're never going to apologize. So having the right team around you as you go into this process, so you don't have to tell them that they're a jerk or negotiate with them, is
Right.
so important. You want to make sure you have a therapist or a coach or both. You want to make sure you have a CDFA helping you when it comes to the financials if need be. And you need, I cannot stress this enough, an attorney who understands coercive control, who understands at least a little bit of criminal law, and who understands a narcissist and the way that they work. And if you do a consult with an attorney and you say you think they're a narcissist, and the attorney makes some sort of snide, rude comment towards you, just hang up, move on, call me. I will find you somebody else in your state, your area, whatever. You need someone that truly understands how it works because you need somebody that understands the strategy, how their minds work, and how the process is going to go forward with somebody like this. They tend to find themselves a pretty difficult attorney to work with. So somebody that can stand up to that attorney, which is how I met Robin, was going through these cases. And this is how Robin and I met and became friends, was because of her knowledge of criminal law, because of her knowledge of coercive control. And from here, I know she has a lot of tips for you that I'm not an attorney, so I'm going to let her take them from
Well, thank you, Lisa. That was great. And I can listen to you for hours on the science. And Lisa gave you a lot of good tips and about your team building. And what I want to do is I want to tell you about a little trick that a narcissist loves to play, and you don't even know they're doing this. And I have learned this through my experience. One thing I want you to think about now is, what does a narcissist love? Power. They crave power, they need power, and they need control. And that gives them their little dopamine hit, makes them feel happy. So you've spoken to Lisa, or you've spoken to somebody, and you know you have to get away from this person. And you know a divorce, even an amicable divorce, is stressful. So let's talk about power. One thing a narcissist does not like in a divorce is they don't like attorneys. Oh, they love their attorney, but they don't want you to have an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a little trick. Mediation, collaborative divorce is a beautiful thing. It's not going to work if you are divorcing a narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to say, well, why? I don't understand. Because in a mediation, there really aren't attorneys. You need attorneys, but what happens is the narcissist now wants to win. And I will tell you this, nobody wins in a divorce. Massachusetts is an equitable division state, which means fair. What's fair to you is not going to be fair to the narcissist who wants it all. And so what happens is, if you have an attorney, the attorney is going to level the playing field. So this is a little trick. I see this all the time. I've seen this in my practice. I'm a mediator. I love mediation. It's a beautiful thing. I have a reputation of being a fierce litigator, but I also like to avoid litigation. And my style is, let's see if we can keep this out of the court. But it doesn't work with a narcissist, because this is the game they're going to play. Now remember, a lot of characteristics of a narcissist. They're charming. Oh, are they charming? They can be the biggest jerk to you, and they get into court and they're just delightful, you know. They manipulate and they know how to push a button. So this is what they're going to do. You know what? We need to get a divorce. All right, let's keep the lawyers out of it. Let's go to mediation. It's going to be cheap. It's going to save us money. We're going to get done quickly. What do we need lawyers for? Come on. They may even pick the mediator for you, and they'll throw you bones. They might say, I'll pay for the mediation. They may even say, and you know what? We don't have to fight. You can keep your retirement account. I can keep mine. Hey, and you know what? You can keep that, you can have the timeshare out in New Hampshire. Yeah, I don't want it. You can keep it. Oh, and you know what? And they're going to throw you all these bones, right? And make it sound so nice, right? And then you find, mediation is good, but it only works when there's two people who can get along, and they just agree that we're not going to be living together anymore, and they go to a mediator who is not representing you. The mediator may be an attorney, but the mediator may know the law and may tell you about the law, but the mediator is not there to represent your interests. So if you walk in there and you agree to waive alimony, fine. The mediator is going to tell you the alimony law and whatever. But if that works, that's what the mediator will write in your memo of understanding or in your separation agreement. And then comes to find out, oh my, you somewhere along the line you lose your job, and now you have no income, but you were married for 20, 25, 30 years. You could have, if you kept alimony open, you might have been able to go in and make that claim from your spouse. And now you can't because you waived alimony because you didn't have an attorney that told you this. Well, your spouse, your narcissistic spouse, that makes your spouse happy. So this is what you're going to do. As Lisa said, you're going to flip it. Okay. They're going to talk to you and they're going to say, hey, we're going to do the mediation. I'm going to save money and keep the kid. And you're going to say, wonderful. Great. I think that's an awesome idea. I'm going to hire an attorney to represent me. Now, this is going to get you a reaction. They may, as Lisa said, they'll have a tantrum. And then they're going to flip it to you. This is all your fault. You're always screwing things up. This divorce is your fault. And here we go again. Now you're going to take this and you're going to make this into this federal case. And now we have to get lawyers involved. And do you know how expensive that's going to be? It's going to, and you know, and you know what it's going to do to the children. And you are a horrible person. And I don't forget it. Just forget it. And everything is off the table. And then they might get mean and they're going to try to scare you. And they're going to say, I'm going to destroy you. You're getting nothing. When I'm done with you, you will have nothing. And I'm going to take the kids too. You're not going to get to see the kids. I'm taking those kids. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to expose everything about you. I'm going to tell the judge that you're an alcoholic, and I'm going to bring up that you're addicted to, what your pot or whatever. And you know what? You're not good. And alimony, forget it. You're getting nothing. Or if you're the spouse that's making more money, and I'm not going to go into, alimony and whether you're in an alimony case, that's for your lawyer. They'll say, I'm going after you for alimony. And they're just going to bully you and intimidate you and wear you down. Don't let them. Just don't let them, because I'm here to tell you, you're going to be okay. The law is about equitable. And the law looks at factors. It's in chapter 208, and there's these divorce factors. And again, you can look them up and you can talk to your lawyer. I'm not going to waste your time. This isn't a law lecture. But one of the factors in a divorce, a judge wants to make sure that each party is living at least in the same standard of living that they were during the divorce, which means more than likely, the judge is not going to approve a separation agreement where you're going to be living homeless in a box. It's not going to happen. Okay, it's just not going to happen. And that's where you have to go to your lawyer, and and the narcissistic spouse is going to tell you all these horrible things and scare you. You go to a lawyer. Have a consultation with a lawyer. You don't have to hire the lawyer. And then the lawyer will tell you, no, that's not going to happen. No, the lawyer is going to say, oh, you've been married for 15 years. Oh, he or she has a retirement account and there's 100,000 in it. And the lawyer is going to ask you, and has that retirement account been building during the time of the divorce? Oh, you're entitled to half. Oh, he told you that you can't have it? No. Again, I liked what you said. Let the lawyers get the finances. You can go read blogs. You can talk to lawyers. It doesn't matter. Every divorce, you have to disclose your finances. And again, what I want you to think of, the magic number in a divorce is 3. Okay, 3. So, especially in a narcissist, many times it's financial abuse. I know, Lisa, you see this, and financial control. When you have a divorce, you have to exchange by law 3 years of taxes, 3 years of bank accounts, 3 years of this, retirement accounts, three. So when you come in and you talk to your lawyer, yes, gather your information, write down what you have. That's easy. The other tip is this. Many people come to me and they're scared. I don't know what he or she has. And don't feel embarrassed. I mean, I've had people come in and they've been married 15, 20, 25 years. They have no idea.
Mhm.
Because that's what they do. As Lisa said, they control you. But don't be afraid. You will get everything that you are entitled to under the law because, like Lisa said, we as lawyers can get it. So here's what you need to do. You start doing sleuthing. A lot of things are online, but some people still get snail mail. If you see a fidelity statement come in, something that says Merrill Lynch, I don't know, Edward Jones, make a note. Oh, what is your spouse? What does your spouse do for a living? Is your spouse a teacher? Is your spouse a federal worker? Work for the post office? Work for the courts? Was your spouse in the military? Is your spouse in the military? There's more than likely, there's a pension probably floating out there, or 403Bs. We'll find it. Don't pay attention to the you're getting nothing from me and I'm going to destroy you. That's just scare tactics. That's just intimidation. And that's why, as much as I love alternative dispute resolution and I love mediation and I love doing 1A divorces. Lisa, you know that when somebody comes in an uncontested divorce, it's not going to work with a narcissist. And again, that's why I'm telling you, I have represented people in a divorce in the mediation process. And what happens is the narcissist gets mad.
Mhm.
And also they lie. And they're wonderful liars. That's one of the characteristics. They're pathological liars to the point that they believe their lies. I mean, I mean, Lisa, I know you've seen this. It is unbelievable. I represented a man and his wife, a classic narcissist. I don't know anything, and I don't know anything about a second mortgage. That's all on him. And then my client gives me, not only does my client give me a copy of the promissory note, it has the narcissistic wife's signature on the promissory note and a whole string of emails where she was the one that initiated the second mortgage, but she had no idea about it. And when I presented this to the lawyer who had no idea, still she still was trying to deny it. So what I'm saying is they're going to give you all of this scare tactic. The lawyers, we can figure this out. And so the tip is recognize that this is happening. And it's difficult because, as Lisa said, you've been beaten down, you've been abused emotionally, scared. Recognize and step away and don't listen to it. Realize that it's noise.
Mhm.
And when you feel that you're ready to divorce this person, I believe you need a team, and the most important part of your team, even more than the lawyer, is your emotional support. You can be the most put together person in the world, but when you're divorcing a narcissist, it just ramps it up.
Mhm.
And there's wonderful support out there. There's divorce coaches, there's therapists, there's groups. Friends and family are great, but remember, you need somebody who is objective, because a friend and a family are going to give you one kind of support. You need someone like a divorce coach, like Lisa, who's objective, and she'll come right out and she'll tell you what it is. She'll tell you, and she also has a little bit more of the professional help, and she can work with the lawyers. You need something. You at the minimum, you need at least a consultation. And so that's what I'm trying to tell you. Remember, the tip is you've got to flip the power when you're dealing with a narcissist. And again, they don't like lawyers. Nobody likes lawyers, I have to tell you. We're the most unpopular person in the room. But don't be afraid. There are a lot of lawyers out there. They start giving you nonsense and telling you things. Pick up the phone, book a consultation with a lawyer. You can talk to as many lawyers as you want. And another thing I'm talking about, when you get divorced. When you're divorcing, in a divorce situation anyway, you spend a lot of time with your lawyer. More so than if you had the misfortune of being in a lawsuit, maybe you had a personal injury case, you had a car accident or something like that. You see your lawyer, what, 2-3 times? Maybe you had a small claim or something. When you're in a divorce situation, you spend a lot of time with your lawyer. I mean, there might be times where you're on the phone with your lawyer like every day, especially if it's a narcissist. You're in court a lot because there's temporary emotions. Make sure when you interview your lawyers, you find a lawyer that you connect to, that they on the same page as you, that they, like Lisa said, narcissist has become a buzzword. It's overused to the point of ad nauseum. Because just because your person is difficult or a jerk doesn't mean they're necessarily a narcissist, but they have the same characteristics. So when you're talking to your lawyer, and if they start, and you talk about narcissist, and if they, like Lisa says, they're kind of dismissing it, that's not the lawyer you want. You want to interview, you want to find a lawyer that you get along with, that has the same vision as you. And again, there's plenty of divorce lawyers out there. Don't be afraid. Again, and also, here's another tip. They like to, especially if you're in a situation, every divorce is different. Every the fact patterns are all different. So this is another thing I want you to remember. When you get divorced, it's very common to, people will say, oh, this is what happened in my divorce. Okay, everybody's divorce is different. And the laws are different. In fact, the law changed right before I had to take the bar exam. The Alimony Reform Act came out. And I remember a Saturday, about like a week before the bar exam, law school called us in and said, you have to learn this new law because you're going to be tested on it. 3 years ago, alimony, the way we calculate alimony was changed by a case came out, Kavanaugh versus Kavanaugh. So if you have a friend or a family member that was divorced 15, 20 years ago, and then they're saying, oh, okay, this happened to me, and make sure your lawyer does this, and the law was different back then. So again, I want you to walk away with power. That's what they want. They want power and control. And so you're going to flip that narrative. You're not going to give in to them. Every divorce is different. So you can listen, but realize then you have to talk to your lawyer who will assess your facts and build your team. And you need the emotional support. And again, Lisa is an amazing resource. And Lisa divorces people you work with people all over the world, which I think is like awesome. And again, and then we can open it up. I don't know, do you want to open it up for questions or whatever? But another thing I want to talk about, and we didn't talk about this, abuse. No person should be in a situation where they're abused, man or woman. And men get abused too. But a lot of men don't want to report it because there's a machismo thing. No, don't do that. Nobody nobody should be physically abused and nobody should be mentally abused. And if you walk into your lawyer's office and you have been physically abused or mentally abused and you didn't report it for whatever reason, don't be embarrassed, don't be afraid. Get the help, because narcissists are more likely to have that. They play a game. They know the line. And
Mm-hmm.
as Lisa alluded to, coercive control. Now the law changed again, and you can get restraining orders if there's been financial abuse and financial control. Even in coercive control, if they're beating the dog or the cat, and I'm not going to go into this legal thing on coercive control because that's not what we're here for. You could have a 3-day seminar on that. The abuse needs to stop. Don't be afraid. We're all professionals and we've seen it all.
Mm-hmm.
Get the help that you need. You deserve happiness and you deserve to be safe. And the law is not going to let you be unsafe or be homeless or let your narcissistic spouse walk away with everything. Know that knowledge is power. And I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to that, Lisa?
Absolutely. That was all so fabulous. Such fabulous information. Yeah. By taking back your control, by having the knowledge, by listening to your attorney is how you're gonna stay in power. And all these jerks say that you're gonna be homeless. I'm gonna take everything. I'm gonna take the kids from you, even though they don't even know your kids' teachers' names or where their doctor's
Right.
office is.
Yeah.
They always say they were the primary parent, even though they don't even know the kid's shoe size or food allergies.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but I always like to say just because they say it doesn't mean it's true. When they say I'm going to take all the money, you're going to pay me alimony. I don't know. I'm going to take the dog and I don't know, like whatever. They come up with like I've heard some really crazy things.
That's
But
so true. That's true what you just said,
I
especially
mean,
about
it's true.
I'm the primary parent. Like they don't even know the kid's the shoe size, you know. I mean, and that's another thing about documenting. When when you're divorcing and your children are young, it's very, it's do document how much time your spouse is spending with the child. Now, if you're divorced, that's important. How, who's taking care of the child? And when for women, did your spouse help you, when the baby was young? And then when the children are older, we don't have to go all the way back to I mean, we don't have to go all the way back to the beginning of, when they were toddlers and what the spouse did. That's important. That really is important. But again, it's different. Again, with the documentation, now you start with the teenagers. Oh, she doesn't take the child to the soccer games, or she doesn't help with the homework, these type of things. But you're right, they're all of a sudden they become father or mother of the year.
Oh yeah, they're always in primary.
I mean, always. And also another thing too, because they're so charming, they snow their lawyers. And eventually what we do is we show it's not true with evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, well, look at this. So what you said is true. That made me yeah, laugh about that. I don't know the shoe size, but
The
yeah,
shoe
they're the
size, the
primary.
doctors' names, the teachers' names, just because they threaten it, just because they say it doesn't mean it's true. If anything, if you pay close attention to a narcissist and what they threaten and what they accuse you of, it's like their truth serum almost. Like if they say, I know you're cheating, good shot they're cheating. If they say, I know you're stealing money, good shot they're stealing money. There's always a way to backtrack it. If you pay attention to what they say, you can email it to me and I will tell you what it probably means. So there's always a little nugget of truth flipped the other way. Wouldn't you
Flip
say?
it.
Yeah, it's like a true serum of what they're doing.
So, do we have any questions?
Yes, Raman. Let me just double check. There's a couple that were sort of messaged in. The first one was, um, and it's for both of you in terms of the process, Lisa, on the side. How long does this sort of take if somebody's thinking about kind of getting divorced or starting the process? And same for you, Robin. How long does it take on the divorce side when you're divorcing a narcissist?
So, okay, so as far as the legal side, everybody wants a time frame. It can be as slow as six. So when you file for divorce under the law, the first court appearance is 6 months. You can't, if you've served the divorce, if it's so it's 6 months, it's a minimum 6 months. It could take, I'm not gonna try to scare anybody, but it could take, depending on how nasty it becomes, how much fighting the narcissist is going to do, it could take anywhere between 12 a year to 18 months. I've seen some, this is rare. It could go 2 years, but you're talking maybe, it could go, it's impossible to predict. And the reason why is this: the fighting. A narcissist wants to win, and nobody's going to win in a divorce. It's going to be some, but you got to compromise. So it's impossible to say, but the sooner you start, the sooner you can be done. And again, when you get that pre-trial, which is about at the 6 month, you'll have an idea whether you're going to settle or whether you're going to go on the trial track. So I don't know if it's like, this is your standard lawyer answer. It depends, right? So, Lisa, what about the coaching?
Same, exact. Same like she said, like I start working with women sometimes, and I do work with men too, but like I said, primarily women. So I start working with people sometimes when they're in their should I stay or should I go? And we do a lot of like brain spotting and nervous system work and positive psychology techniques and coaching just around that. I have people that come in the middle when they're like, my divorce is a mess, my lawyer's terrible, he's still abusing me, he's torturing my kids. So we unravel that ball. I start working with people sometimes as a divorce is finishing up or after the divorce, because often narcissists tend to get a little worse after the divorce for a little bit. If you haven't pre-gamed it in the beginning, right, they will come in and try to control you after the divorce and post narcissistic abuse and
Yeah, that's true.
use your kids. And that's a whole nother webinar, but that we can do.
That
But
is, that's another webinar.
that's a whole nother
Post-divorce
ball of,
narcissist. Yeah.
yeah, like that's a whole other issue. But so it really depends. I often work with people in like a 6 month container, but then I have clients I work with hourly or as needed or for a couple months at a time. It just really depends what somebody needs, and sometimes what you need changes throughout the process.
Okay, great. Another question was about recognizing a narcissist, right? Between a controlling spouse and a narcissist. Does it matter? Is there something that sort of trips it over the line?
And I mean, there's a lot of different types of narcissists. There's covert narcissists, there's overt narcissists, there's grandiose narcissists. There's like, I could go on and on. So I guess my question back to this question would be, does it really matter? Like, we can profile the person for your divorce if it gets really high conflict and contentious, so we learn how to like strategize. But if you're in a situation where you're like, my spouse is so controlling, they're so nasty, I'm so unhappy, would it change whether they were a narcissist or not? Or do you just want to be happy? Do you want peace? Do you want to live and maybe show your children? Like if you have a child, or even if you don't, imagine you have a child and they were in a relationship with this person that you're in a relationship with, that you're married to, would you be excited and happy for them that they were in that relationship? Or would you wish and hope every day that they got themselves out? And what advice would you give that child? That's how I would answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another one was the financial end of things. Oftentimes, you both mentioned that there's financial control,
Right.
and what does it look like to get out of that in terms of, are you starting over, whether you work, whether the spouse worked or not? What's that process like to kind of rebuild that or get kind of financial control look like?
So, right. So during the divorce, so remember what I said, the law is the law is the law, okay? And what happens in the finance piece of a divorce, I mean, I know people, it's a math problem with the variables being the chapter 208 divorce factors. So when you're getting divorced, the court is going to divide up the assets equitably. And if there is one spouse that pretty much has had nothing, and the other spouse has all the assets, well, guess what's going to happen? The court is going to say you're giving your spouse half. So that's what happens. And that's where, if there was so much financial control, especially if there was a stay-at-home spouse, if that person was just, if your spouse was just controlling and giving you, allowances or whatever, and if there'll be spousal support, there'll be alimony. So the process of making sure that the spouse is financially, walks away with finances, will be going through the divorce process, and that, Lisa, like what you said, is discovery, and that's, I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what happens. You will get the court is going to order it. The court is going to order it. The court is going to say, you have to share your pension. You have to, the court will take care of it. They will make sure that you are okay. You're not going to live in a box on the sidewalk. I mean,
And they create so much fear
right
throughout the relationship around money. Like, I have a handful of clients going through something similar right now, but one person, she's actually texting me right now. So that's who's like, it's like, she was having to ask her husband for money, $50 to go to the grocery store, and he would give her 20 and tell her to figure it out. That she had created a lot of credit card debt because she was trying to like buy
Right.
her kids school clothes. And so we do that, and I'm talking to her, and I'm like, I'm thinking this doesn't seem right, because I realize what he does for a job, and no. She is walking away. Her divorce is almost final, thank goodness, with a very, very sizable settlement, when she was begging him to be able to buy like mac and cheese and bread for the children. Like, she's now walking with a very sizable settlement with her debts paid, and she's going to go buy a house, and she's going to be more than okay. So
Yep.
they put so much fear in you, and you have so much anxiety, of course, around money and finances and not having enough and not being enough and not doing enough. But it ends here.
And we can go in also during the course, we can go in for these called temporary orders. So for instance, let's say you're married and you're separated for whatever reason, and now that person isn't supporting you anymore. We can go in and ask the judge temporarily, until we finally get a final settlement, we need some money. So that's, that's how we do it, if that answers the question.
I think so. There's a couple more questions, or
Sure.
one question, and I think it has to do with the timing, and it's from one of the participants. And we're 16 months into the divorce process, and every draft agreement my attorney proposes gets rejected without any counter proposal. At what point does it make sense to turn to mediation? And what if he refuses to pay for half?
Okay, so that's interesting. So that happens all the time. So when that happens, and it happens all the time, sure. If there are two attorneys, sure. Go to offer mediation. So in a situation like that, I will say, okay, look, we're stuck on this. Let's go to mediation. And one thing that I will do, here's a little trip. This is what I do. I want retired judges, okay? Because retired judges, remember, they're powerful, right? It's not just, it's a mediator, but they've got a little power. And a retired judge will see through the crap. And a retired judge will actually be able to say, look, I sat in that court. That isn't going to happen. Figure it out. And unfortunately, if this is constantly happening, your lawyer should be preparing for trial. Because at the end of the day, if you can't get an agreement, and you can't get a mediated agreement, then you're going to have to go to trial. So what I would say to that person is, where are you in your divorce? Where are you? How close are you to it? Do you have a trial? Is it a pre-trial? And then your lawyer has to be looking at the timeline and has to say, okay, if we can't get an agreement, we have a final pre-trial in 3 months. If we can't get an agreement within that 3 months, then we're gonna have, and we can't, then we're just gonna have to go down the trial track. Now, again, at any time during your divorce, you can settle. I literally had a divorce settle. I kid you not. I was on a trial conference, and I think it was on Zoom because I think it was COVID or something. And we had a trial conference where you're talking with the judges saying, this is what you got to do for trial. And as I am driving here, I got yelled at by a cop because I was negotiating on my phone. He's negotiating a separation agreement. And I'm like, oh my God. And when we got to the trial conference, we were literally faxing to the court. So just because you're at that situation and it looks hopeless, it can settle.
Yes, they often do.
Yeah.
Conciliation with a retired judge, amazing. They often settle it. Because I think, like you said, they are authoritative. They have a very confident presence, and so they can really like drop a narcissist down a peg. So
Yeah, they're not afraid. They're not yeah. I mean, I love using retired judges for the high conflict. And it's interesting because the narcissist doesn't want a retired judge. They want just some touchy-feely divorce mediation coach, So,
I do love the yes, amazing. But anyway, a lot of times they settle because a lot of times they think you're scared to go to court. And so they're using that as one of their fear tactics. Like, well, I'm gonna like, no, take it to court, like take it to trial. They're like, well, we could keep this out of court, we could settle, but then they're not gonna settle for anything that benefits you. And so they'll
right.
start to use trial as a threat against you.
Yeah, but don't be
You're not
afraid because
afraid.
they're the ones that don't want to go to
They
trial.
don't want to trial. Say, sure, let's go.
Let's go,
Yeah.
babe. Let's go to trial. Okay, I mean, but we
But
don't want that. I mean,
you're not gonna
we
end up
we really do want to avoid that, but don't be afraid because they're the ones, they have to go to trial too. They have to pay for, oh, and also legal fees too. Don't be afraid. Sometimes if you're in a power situation, especially it's a stay-at-home person and they've always supported you and there's a high enough income, you can ask the court for them to kind of like advance legal fees.
Yep.
So there's all kinds of little things, so don't, talk to a lawyer about your individual facts and circumstances. And then they'll make you feel better. We hope. We
Okay.
hope to do that.
Well, that was great, and I think that's it for the questions, and it's just about the time's up. So if you want, I can share your contact info, and if you have anything else you want to add in.
Awesome.
Sure.
I think that's great. We can maybe put it together and you guys will get a recording of this. And we can always shoot out an email with any information. Send us an email. We're happy to get back to you. With any other questions you didn't think of today?
Sure. Absolutely. Always happy to talk. Lawyers, we love to talk. So we happy to talk. Happy to consult.
Yeah. And
Great. Well, thank you both very much.
Thank you. And thank you.
thank you for helping us with this.
Thank
And
you.
thank you guys all for coming on at lunchtime on a Wednesday and listening. And if you're here because you're definitely going through something. So we're both so sorry for what you're going through. It's not easy, but I promise you from somebody who's been there, it's a little bit of not greatness for the rest of your life to be great versus living with this jerk for the rest of your life. So you're doing the right thing, and I promise you it gets better.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye.